After dating for 2.5 years, aspiring artist Ben is going through a breakup with his first serious girlfriend, Susie. She yells at him frequently, but since he just stands there without reacting, she escalates to throwing things at him. Ben is supposed to focus on his final year of college, yet he can't stop dwelling on the breakup because he doesn't understand why it happened. Matters worsen when he has to watch Susie flirt with another guy during lunch, which makes him wonder if she had been unfaithful. His best friend Sean suggests he needs a rebound to feel better, but Ben struggles to trust advice from someone with consistently bad luck in relationships. During art class, Ben starts sketching a beautiful classmate instead of the model, which earns him a scolding from the teacher. Living in a student housing complex with 120 peers means Ben hears others getting intimate almost every night. Unable to sleep one evening, he calls Susie and wakes her up. He apologizes and asks her to reconcile, but she refuses and mentions the new guy. Afterward, Ben still can't sleep and ends up looking through old photos of him and Susie. He considers burning the pictures, but can't bring himself to do it. Over the following days, Ben develops insomnia. Despite trying various methods to fall asleep and engaging in different activities to distract himself, his mind keeps drifting back to Susie. One evening, while shopping for snacks at the grocery store, he notices they're hiring for the night shift. He fills out an application and zones out during the interview, but he gets the job anyway. Ben starts using his sleepless nights to earn some money. One of his co-workers is Sharon, a friendly cashier who warmly welcomes him. One evening, she arrives late, and their boss Jenkins reprimands her, but Ben can't help noticing Jenkins being overly touchy. The job turns out to be monotonous, and Ben frequently spaces out, staring at customers, which leads to Jenkins scolding him repeatedly. Sharon avoids looking at the clock, keeping it covered with tape, because watching the time makes it pass more slowly. Another co-worker, Barry, once went viral online for a silly bicycle stunt. Now he spends his nights at the store riding a scooter. Barry and Matt, who work in the meat section, entertain themselves by making crude jokes with the products. They also pull pranks, like sneaking suggestive shampoo bottles into women's shopping baskets to see if they unknowingly buy them. One night, with Jenkins absent, Matt and Barry try to organize a scooter race, only to crash into a customer's shopping cart. After 2 weeks, Ben finds himself stuck in the same dull routine. Frustrated, he starts fantasizing about having the ability to freeze time, as though pausing the world with a remote. He imagines walking around unnoticed, free from judgment, while openly admiring women he finds attractive. As he daydreams, Ben reflects on his past and how he became passionate about capturing beauty through art. When he was a child, his family hosted a foreign student who often walked around the house naked. Seeing her uninhibited form awakened something in him, and he wished he could stop time to admire her forever. Now, he fantasizes about how convenient it would be to stop time. He imagines undressing customers at the store and sketching them without inhibition, fully appreciating their beauty. He'd fill entire sketchbooks with drawings of random women shopping, always ensuring to fix their clothes afterward. Ben also envisions using this ability to play pranks, like setting up objects to fall on Jenkins. During the day, Sean visits Ben and encourages him to talk about Susie, but Ben is exhausted from repeatedly expressing the same feelings, which does nothing to ease his heartbreak. Ben and Sean have been friends since childhood, and Sean once introduced Ben to adult magazines he had found hidden under his parents' bed. This taught Ben to view the body in a more artistic way, observing how certain features appeared up close. The boys got excited while looking at the magazines, so when Sean's mother caught them in the act, she assumed they were interested in each other. Sean is a big supporter of one-night stands, which he refers to as having a Natalie. The term comes from a teenage neighbor he knew growing up, who would charge boys money to show them her private parts. At the store, Ben becomes the target of Barry and Matt's ridiculous pranks. The new hire, Brian, claims he's skilled in martial arts and performs exaggerated stances while cleaning. When the others mock him, Brian responds by slapping Matt. Ben finds himself gradually developing feelings for Sharon, even sharing his snacks with her, while secretly wishing he could freeze those moments forever. One evening, Ben is heartbroken to learn that Matt asked Sharon out, and she said yes. Matt begins making crude comments about his intentions for the date, forcing Ben to walk away, reminiscing about his past crushes. His first crush was on a professional runner he had seen at the Olympics. He admired her because she ran barefoot. His second crush was his biology teacher, who often wore tight sweaters and stylish skirts. But his biggest crush was a classmate named Tanya. One day, Tanya broke her arm and came to school wearing a cast, which Ben found oddly fascinating as he watched her struggle to manage it or scratch an itch. When Tanya asked him to sign her cast, Ben simply drew an X. After her cast was removed, her arm was covered in hair, and the other boys teased her for it. Ben comforted her, telling her she was still beautiful, and Tanya agreed to be his girlfriend. When Tanya asked for their first kiss, Ben panicked and suggested they meet the next day. He hoped that meeting at school on a Saturday, when it was empty, would make the moment more special. However, Tanya never showed up, and she didn't return to school after that because her family had moved abroad. In the present, Ben and Sean are playing chess, and Sean notices Ben isn't himself because he keeps losing. Ben tells Sean about his situation with Sharon, and Sean advises him not to give up hope, saying that one date doesn't mean much, but Ben knows Sean tends to get too physical on first dates, so he dismisses his advice. The next night at work, Matt brags to the group about his date with Sharon, even giving an explicit description of her naked body. Their conversation is cut short when Jenkins arrives to announce that they'll be playing a soccer match against employees from another branch the following weekend. When the day of the match arrives, Sharon comes to cheer for the team, and Ben has to endure watching Matt continue to flirt with her. The opposing team has proper uniforms and great coordination, leaving Ben's group with little confidence. Once the game begins, it's clear the other team is far superior. Ben's teammates keep falling and colliding with each other, while Jenkins takes business calls in the middle of the field. The opposing team occasionally cheats, but the referee ignores it, and the group has to restrain Jenkins from attacking him. Brian, as the goalkeeper, performs terribly, somehow causing the ball to ricochet straight into their goal. With 1 minute remaining, Ben's team is losing 26-0. Jenkins insists they must at least score a single goal before the game ends. Following the plan, Ben passes the ball to Jenkins, who kicks it toward the goal, but it bounces off the metal bar. Matt quickly kicks it again, only to accidentally hit Jenkins in the face. Fed up with the chaos, Ben imagines freezing the moment and walking away from the humiliation. In his fantasy, he would take a second to gaze at Sharon before heading off for a drink, but the daydream would be interrupted by a strange noise. Suddenly, a man would dash away, and Ben would realize, even in his own imagination, he can't get things right. Back at the game, Jenkins' nose is bleeding badly, so he needs medical attention. Before driving his boss to the hospital, Matt asks Ben to take Sharon home. Instead, the two end up at a cafe. Ben asks Sharon about her relationship with Matt, but she clarifies that they only went to the movies as friends. Horrified by the lies Matt has been spreading, she explains she's single because her last boyfriend moved to the US. In return, Ben shares his story about Susie. They talk for a while about their life choices, college experiences, and aspirations for the future. Sharon mentions that she finds painters romantic because they can see beauty in everything. Later, when Ben takes Sharon home, the situation feels awkward, and their attempt at a kiss turns into a simple peck on the cheek. The next night, Jenkins shows up to work wearing a neck brace and bandages on his face. Claiming he feels no pain, Jenkins announces he's planning a birthday party. Sharon asks Ben to be her date, and he agrees. In private, Jenkins tells the guys he wants a risque dancer for the party and tasks Ben with hiring one. The next afternoon, Ben enlists Sean's help, and Sean agrees as long as he gets to attend the party too. The two head to a bar and have a beer while watching a dancer, though her performance is underwhelming. While Sean negotiates with her, Ben finds himself imagining Sharon as a dancer instead. Despite how much time passes, Ben still can't sleep, though his thoughts of Susie have faded. During his night shifts, Ben continues to fantasize about having the power to stop time. However, instead of focusing on random women, his thoughts center on Sharon, imagining endless time to create hundreds of paintings of her. The night before the party, Sharon confirms they'll be going together and kisses Ben before leaving the store. This moment lifts Ben's spirits and finally cures his insomnia. The next day, Ben receives a call from a gallery claiming claiming they want to display his art. Excited, he doesn't realize it's another prank from Barry and Matt. As the party approaches, everyone gets ready, spending an excessive amount of time in front of mirrors. Ben picks Sharon up as promised, and Sean arrives with his current fling. To Ben's surprise, Susie is also at the party because Jenkins is her boyfriend's brother. They exchange polite but awkward greetings, and Ben manages to avoid her without feeling upset. When the provocative dancer arrives, she puts on a lively show for Jenkins, but her bodyguard stops him from touching her. Sean films the performance, and when the dancer turns toward the camera, he recognizes her as his old neighbor Natalie. He invites her to stay for a drink. Meanwhile, Jenkins attempts to kiss Sharon and invites her to his room. Sharon repeatedly refuses Jenkins, but he persists and gets overly physical. When he force feeds her popcorn, she spits it back into his mouth and leaves the room, unaware that Jenkins begins choking. Upstairs, Ben runs into Susie, who apologizes again for the past. She admits she still thinks about him and kisses him just as Sharon walks in and sees them. Sharon quickly turns away and leaves, not noticing that Ben pushes Susie off him. Realizing what Sharon must think, Ben wishes he could stop time or rewind it to fix the moment. He tries to think of something to say to make her stay, but there's nothing he can do as she walks out. Meanwhile, Barry slides down the stairs in a box. Later, Ben goes to Sharon's apartment building, but when she hears his voice, she refuses to let him in. Ben waits for someone else to open the door and sneaks in, running up to Sharon's apartment. Just like before with Susie, he stands silently as Sharon yells at him with all her anger. Once again, Ben leaves heartbroken and lost. The next night, Barry shows up at work wearing a neck brace after injuring himself in his stunt, while Sharon is absent. At home, Ben discovers his insomnia has returned. The following Wednesday, Ben visits the gallery and learns the call had been a prank. However, the gallery owner takes a look at his work and is impressed, offering him a real appointment. Sometime later, Sharon receives an invitation to Ben's art exhibition. On the night of the event, Sean gets rejected by yet another girl. Ben is thrilled to see people admiring his work and receives a card from a New York gallery owner, but his focus is on Sharon's arrival. She's stunned to find that most of the paintings are of her, portrayed beautifully. Sharon congratulates Ben on his success and shares that she got a new job at a travel agency. Ben apologizes for what happened at the party, but Sharon points out that his paintings speak for themselves. In that moment, Ben kisses Sharon and pretends to stop time, leaving her unfrozen so they can step outside together. The snow has paused mid-fall, creating a magical scene for their kiss.